Hey friends, I'm Derek, that's Noah, and you're listening to A Bite Of. On this episode, we are taking a bite of the new Netflix animated series, Long Story Short.
Ooh, a short episode on a long story short. How about that? We actually have our next two episodes/reviews are very family focused. We didn't plan this, completely different studios, but hey, end of summer means dysfunctional families.
Yeah, it almost seems like there was something in the universe saying that everybody was going through something with their families at the same time. So it's just the trend in pop culture right now.
I don't know if I like it, but I do like these two things. So
Yeah.
we have The Roses coming out next week. And then obviously this week is the episode that you clicked on. But before we get into everything, make sure you're following us. Make sure you're subscribed to us. Make sure you're leaving reviews. Patreon, we have a bite of the week. Every week, we talk about some of our favorite pop culture news, movie news, TV news, whatever news. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Been a fun time.
It's like Access Hollywood, but us.
But gay.
And on a weekly basis.
Yeah. All right. So spoilers ahead. We will be talking, we're not going to go into super huge detail, but we will be talking about the first season of Long Story Short. And also thank you, Netflix, for giving us screeners for the whole first season.
Very lucky. So let us officially take a bite of Long Story Short, created by Raphael Bowaxberg. Meet the Schwartz-Cooper-Schwooper family as they experience the trials, tribulations, and wolves growing up as a Jewish-American family through the late 90s and 2000s. So, what did you think of the Schwartz-Cooper-Schwooper family?
One, I love the name Schwooper. Ooh, so good. I didn't finish BoJack Horseman. What I do know about BoJack Horseman and the creator and everything is that they take a thing and say something with it. This show, I was very curious because there's no animals, right? It's very based on a Jewish family and what that means. I really, really enjoyed my time with the Schwoopers. I think they played with structure really fun in this show. A fun way to play with structure in the show where it wasn't kind of hard based in a time period. It would go all the way to the 50s to the 2020s. This show does a good job of showing a Jewish American family and everything, the uncles, the married in family, what a bat mitzvah is like, what a wake is like, all of this stuff, but also makes it very delightful and charming. And I don't really laugh out loud quickly of comedies. This one, first episode, was laughing out loud. I really enjoyed my time with it. I think like 10, 30-minute episodes was perfect. It didn't overstay its welcome, but I did want more.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is going through these years with this family, right? And within one episode, we can start in 99, go to 2003, go back to 96, so it's the thing is, I think with generational trauma, let's say you need to see the generations, right? And you need to see these breadcrumbs in these folks' lives that have led them to this point. And I think throughout the series, that can happen within one episode, but it also happens throughout the entire season. And I think that's what's so brilliant about this. Like you said, there are no animals in this. I think it's definitely much more rooted in reality compared to BoJack Horseman. And I love that. I think that this family, just for time's sake, we'll just call them the Schwoopers rather than all three of the names. They feel very real. A lot more, I love this idea of the American family that isn't so perfect, right? We think of The Simpsons, we think of the Belchers and Bob's Burgers, and I think the Schwoopers are part of that as well. But I think also on top of that, they're dealing with more real world things, right? We see COVID a lot in this, wearing masks. And I think that being rooted in reality, I think as an audience, we're able to really relate to it.
Yeah, when it got to the COVID years and I saw masks and stuff like that, it's a very I don't want to acknowledge it. Obviously we have to, but it's one of those things where I feel like right after lockdown lifted, we got a lot of media with COVID being in it. And it's can we just 2 seconds? I don't want to see it. But this, I feel like oddly enough time-ish has passed where it was an interesting take on some of the stuff that happened with COVID, but it made sense for the story. I really liked the structure of the show, and I think the animation wasn't trying to do anything new, but was fresh at the same time. So I think that they got a good mix of like getting a great cast, doing a great story, and then having the animation pleasing to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things to be said about this is that there is joviality in the regularness of life, and there can be really bizarre things in our everyday lives. You know, there's one episode in particular called Wolves, and as you're going into it, you're thinking, you know, the metaphoric wolves of life. But it turns out, spoiler alert, during COVID, when no one was in the school, a pack of wolves took over the kids' schools and no one knew how to deal with it. So the kids were going to school with wolves, which is kind of hilarious, but just was this really bizarre new normal that everybody was just kind of like, that's a thing. They go to school with wolves. So there are moments of joy, there are moments of absurdity, but they still feel very rooted in our reality as humans, which I really loved. You know, the animation, I agree, wasn't trying to break any mold here, but I think was fun and enjoyable. And because it was animation, they got to do some sillier things than maybe in live action stuff. But really, part of the thing that brought these characters to life were the amazing cast.
Yeah.
These voice actors. I mean, was there anyone that stood out to you as far as voice acting is concerned?
Abbi Jacobson, 100%. I mean, I immediately clocked who it was because I went into this completely blind. We got the screener. I was like, oh, what is this? I was like, oh, creator, BoJack Horseman. I was like, okay, interesting. And we started watching it and I was like, oh, that's that person. Oh, that's that person. I really enjoyed Abbi Jacobson. I think she probably was the standout to me. Yoshi Max Greenfield, also pretty great. I think those two are maybe the standouts for me as far as just the entirety of the entire series.
Yeah, I think of the three siblings, you know, Avi is the older brother. Avi is the one that I think most acquiesces to his mother. That was kind of a bit of the golden child. So he kind of is more laid back. So I think Ben Feldman didn't necessarily have this like standout role, but I think that he is the one that's most reflective in these relationships. Whereas I think that Abbi Jacobson and Max Greenfield, those characters had more to deal with, you know, so I think that they shone a little more, but I agree. I think Abbi Jacobson was definitely the standout.
Well, I will say, I do think they did a good job of every single person getting an episode or 2 episodes where it either focused on the person or a relationship of some sort. And I really appreciated that because there are 10 episodes and they're 30 minutes, right? But I was even surprised that Nicole Byers Kendra got an entire backstory, which I loved, but I didn't expect that. You know, it's the spouse of somebody. So I was like, oh, okay. And I will say it's very queer.
Yes.
Which I very much loved.
And that was to my point is that I think the character of Shira, who Abbi is voicing, really had a lot to deal with, not only in her queerness, but also just in her mother's wrath on her. And that I love that had nothing to do with the queerness.
No, yeah. I think this show will, I think a lot of people will relate to something in this show. Even if you're like an in-law, you're married into a family, have a narcissistic mother, have siblings, you know, there's just so many layers to the show that I think people will gravitate towards. And they do such a good job of like giving you like, okay, I know this like archetype, I know this character, but then delving a little deeper into it and then hitting you with those really poignant moments that some of them I didn't expect. Like I'm sitting there, I'm laughing, and then I'm like, oh, okay. And then the episode would end and I'm like, damn you. But it's so good. And I think they found a really good balance with this. I saw somebody say that this is like a odd adult Bluey. And I'm like, I kind of can see that. It's not as, I guess, jovial as Bluey, but it's like with the dynamics with the family and everybody has their certain roles. I'm like, I can kind of see that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that if you're fans of Bob's Burgers, This Is Us, Parenthood.
Like, I even thought Modern Family.
Yeah.
But this felt more rooted in reality than Modern Family does.
Yes.
Which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I definitely think that those are really good. I wouldn't say like once your kid's done with Bluey, they should be watching Long Story Short.
No.
This is truly like, it feels like something that, and which I love about it because it's something that you could sit with and think about.
Yeah. Is there any standout moments or episodes for you?
You know, one of the episodes that really stood out to me was number 9, honoring Naomi Schwartz. So this is a really interesting episode because they're honoring their mother at, in their community center, their JCC, right? And so they know her really as this person who is very self-centered, who is always focused on herself, who manages to make any big situation about her and her feelings. And yet she's being honored as this person that gives back constantly.
What I really loved about that episode is that so the people that see her as that are the kids, because they're day to day, they know their mother, and this is how the mother acts towards them, right? Obviously she loves the kids, but like when you have a very self-centered narcissistic parent, you can see these qualities in them and how it's never a good thing. It's always a bad thing, right? And it's always about the looks and it's always about everything else. But then when you're put in the situation of everybody else seeing all these amazing, beautiful things, and like you didn't know that your mother spoke Danish. You didn't know that they did this. They got a convicted white supremacist to turn their lives around. So it's like all of these things. And then the kids are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So I think it was really interesting to show that perspective.
Yeah. Ari says, he says, she could forgive a former Nazi, but she can't forgive me for not using a coaster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the thing that everyone remembers. And it's so interesting to see their mother through other people's eyes. And for some reason with Avi, it really affects him almost negatively of like, why didn't I get this version of my mother? And I just thought it was such an eye-opening episode because that is the second to last episode of the season. So we've all been living with Naomi, right? We see what she does. And I think it comes to it as a surprise for all of us as the audience as well as the kids.
I want to just know what her deal is with Jen. Jen is Avi's spouse, who we meet as the girlfriend at first, and she just hates her. And it does have some of the biggest laughs for me, though. And some of the callbacks from the first episode to the last episode are just absolutely brilliant. But I do want to know what her issue with it, because anytime she's talking to all of them, I think there's only really one episode where they're all together, which is really sweet. But she loves Kendra. She hates Jen. And I just think it is one of the funniest things in the show. If I had to pick like my favorite episode / moment, I would say it's probably Yoshi and Baby. I really, really enjoyed that episode. I thought it was incredibly sweet. It was such a self-contained episode. There's so many layers going on, but it's a very sibling-focused one. And also the baby Yoshi doesn't really have a lot.
Baby Yoshi, not of Mario fame.
Yeah, but doesn't have a huge stake in a lot of the stuff that's going on in the show because he's the baby, right? He's doing his thing, he's doing whatever, but this is really his moment to shine. And I just liked it. I thought it was a cool self-contained story that like what could have been and didn't happen, know?
And also this character of Baby, who we hear about in the first episode, who we don't get to meet until later on, and then see a couple episodes later how it all connects.
Yes. Don't say anything.
But that's one of the things I really like about the show. Yeah. There are even just lines that come out in like later episodes that refer back to earlier things. And so there's planning here, which I really love.
Well, and I think that's what I was like trying to get at when I said I like that they don't root the show in a time period and you don't know where you're going to go in the episodes because they do stuff like that. They mention something like, baby here, but it's like after all the baby stuff. But then you're going back to the beginning at some point, but then at the end. And at first it gets a little like, it's a first show, right? It's the first season of a show. You get used to it. I would say the first episode, you kind of get it. You're like, okay, I'm going to be with this family. They talk a million miles per hour at the kitchen table. And so I think them jumping around actually serves the show really well.
And I think that as a viewer in the beginning, I was trying to track it, but I realized that was to my detriment. Just let it happen.
They don't want you to.
Right.
But I will say there's a lot of Fiddler on the Roof references. So like good luck trying to get all of those.
There is one character we haven't spoken about yet. And this is the dad, Elliot.
Well, okay.
And so my thing is though, is like, so we have Naomi who's so strong. And then we have Elliot, who is so laid back. It's like, what role does Elliot actually play?
Well, I do want to say this because I don't think you know this. And I just found this out shortly before us recording, is it's already been renewed for season 2. So they've already renewed it ahead of season 1 even premiering. So I'm curious if it's going to be the same family. I hope it is. And maybe we will get that, because it does seem like they purposely didn't show some things in hopes that maybe season 2. So, you know, there's specific things that happen with some relationships ending that we didn't get to really see why. So I'm hoping we get that, because there's definitely apparently characters that are missing backstories.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that Elliot, who's voiced by Paul Reiser, who is just incredibly talented and wonderful, we don't know much about him because he takes that backseat role. But again, we get those glimpses to their past, how he and Naomi met. And they seemed like much wilder people when they were younger than they are now.
That's how it always is, though, right? Like, I've seen your parents when they kind of first met, and they look like
rock stars.
My parents did too. My mom had this giant fountain hair. And, you know, I think it's like of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I think, you know, ultimately, it's just how life shapes you.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a very, I think, again, it's only 10 episodes. They're 25 minutes long, including credits. So it's even less than that. And that's not to say it's bad. I think it's actually the perfect runtime for the show. I think it had something it wanted to say. It's so delightfully and unapologetically Jewish that was refreshing to see. And I also do like that they make comments that they know people who didn't grow up Jewish are going to be watching this. So they make sure that you're being taught along the way, but also acting like they're not lecturing you, right?
I mean, I really appreciated it, honestly. And just seeing how it is woven throughout their daily lives and how much it means to them. I also want to just give a shout out to the voice of Hannah Schwooper, Michaela Dietz, because as a Steven Universe fan, she was Amethyst.
Yeah, very good. Final thoughts. I feel like, again, if you're a fan of Bob's Burgers, those kind of like lighthearted, very funny, emotional shows, I think you'll like this show. I think you should give it a shot.
I agree. And, you know, I almost wish I had, because we kind of binged it, you know, to make sure
we had to.
We had to. I actually wish I got to take more time with it, because I think that there are things in there that I could really sit with and think about and feel, because it really does have such great depth to it. It feels very personal to the creator. And I think even though it's about this one specific family, like we've kind of been saying, I think anyone can see themselves in this.
Right.
Anyone who has a family where things get complicated and don't necessarily turn out how we thought, for good or for bad, you'll see yourself in the Schwoopers.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for season 2.
Me too.
Again, I need to see if it's about the same family or not. I mean, it could be an anthology, could not. I'd be happy either way, because I think they have a good team on their hands. But I do love these actors and I love the characters already. So I know I'm kind of sold. But if you're going to watch it, if you watched it, by the time you listen to it, let us know what you thought.
Yes, I'm officially invested. I'm so excited that there's season 2. Love to hear what you all think as well.
See you next time when we talk about The Roses.
Another complicated family.
Well, that one's complicated for a whole lot of other reasons. Dear Lord. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.